I can't imagine my life without faith and without God. Family is my happy place.
In this hustle culture, just step back and prioritize.
Friend can make you feel better no matter how bad the situation is.
Life is too short to be serious. Let's have fun.
Let's talk. The third element that makes a full life is friendship. And I'm sure all of us, everyone who's watching it, is gifted with friends. Whether you like it or not, friends become such an important part of life. And I'm sure all of us have different kinds of friends. And today we'll just see what friends mean to all of us very differently. So, Dana, you tell us, how does a good community of friends make life so beautiful?
I think, again, getting back to it from a very biblical point of view, fellowship is very important. Because I think, as much as we think as individuals we can achieve a lot, I think we can, with a community, we can do so much more. And I think that's because of the ripple effects what we do will have on the people around us. And I think that makes me think about the next thing, right? It's about people and how we are a sense of encouragement for each other. And I think fellowship really does that. There might be times when you can really pray for someone, but because you are mentally, physically, spiritually stronger at one point in time. But at the same time, there are times when you really can't do much. And I think that's when a friend or the person you are in communion with, right, in fellowship with, in a relationship with, uh, lifts you up. And I think that's very, very grounded in biblical terms. And also the idea of sacrifice, right? Friendship doesn't just come with a sense of only happiness all the time. It's about sacrificing the fact that somebody is here, or the fact that someone else goes that extra mile, right, to be there for you in your brokenness, right, to fill you up again. That's again coming through with a lot of filling that comes with a sense of spiritual experience. And I think fellowships really matter, especially in today's time and age, to be there for people, to just listen to them more than just speaking and talking and sharing about what you have been through. I think today a lot of fellowships demand more of listening, just to be there, and the presence itself matters a lot. And I think God does the rest. And I have experienced that in so many places, in the fellowships that I have been blessed with. And sometimes your own fellowships also can get very limiting for you as an individual. And I think that's where it's very important for us to be a part of diverse fellowships too, because you learn more. And because within a particular fellowship itself, you might be exchanging the same sense of spiritual experience with one another, but God might be enabling you and using you to bless another fellowship or to be there with someone else too. And I think it is important to engage ourselves and be a part of fellowships. And one thing that I'd like to tell the young people listening here, you might not be a part of a fellowship, or you might not be linked to a community or a group. Don't worry first, and don't feel left out, because there are so many places and people who are willing to listen. And I'm sure all you need to do is to just take that one step forward to link yourself to a particular fellowship. And I'm sure God will work wonders through the place that you're getting into. And I think that first step itself is like you taking that baby step, and God just leads. I think fellowship and friendship goes hand in hand, and it's beautiful to experience God with the community.
That is so true. We're talking about friendships here. Some of you will have just one friend, two friends, but what Dinah was talking about is a fellowship. We can be a part of multiple fellowships, even if you have just that one best friend that you want to talk to. But without friendships, I'm sure life is very hard, and we really need a community. Like, we're so blessed. I'm sitting here with my best friends, and we know how we've journeyed together, and also we do. We are part of multiple other fellowships which have really, really strengthened us. So thank you for bringing that aspect. As much as sometimes, Akshita, we talk about friendships very glorified way, you tell us, how did you handle the lows in friendship? Because sometimes people are hurt because of friends and friendships. So, in your life, can you just tell us, how did you navigate through the lows in friendship?
I think no friendship can be complete if you don't have those misunderstandings and you don't have those hurt, because then the friendship would either just be something that's not really true. It's just something that you are having just for an everyday life. But I think for me, when it comes to the misunderstandings or the hurts that I've gone through, there have been times in life where I felt really low, because these friendships are something that you take really seriously, and it's not just something that you don't value. But when you hit that low point, I think over the years, there have just been two things that I've realized. And I think in any relationship, not just in friendship, the two things that we really need to think about is love and forgiveness. And if love for that person is greater, then definitely you're able to come to a point where you forgive them and you move. But if you feel that the hurt that is caused is far more than the love you have for that person, I think that's where the question about whether you need that person in your life really comes into picture. And I think most of the times when I've come to that point where you feel really low because of some misunderstandings, the easiest way would be, if you really value that friendship, I think the love exceeds more than what they've done. So you would automatically want to have a confrontation so that you forget things and you move on and things are back to the way it was. And for me, I feel that forgiveness shouldn't just be something you're doing out of, just because you want to do the right thing. And it shouldn't just end with forgiveness. It also goes to forgetting and moving on. And I'm sure, like, as friends, we're here. We've gone through different times where we've had misunderstandings. But I think the love that we have for one another is far more than the hurt that is caused, or far more than the misunderstandings that we have. So we are able to look beyond what happens. And I'm sure none of us remember even the smallest fights we would have had, but we've gone through that phase. But I think it's just like Christ's love. And so many times when we fall short, it's because of God's love for us, which is far greater than what sin we cause. God, God has his arm open for us to go back to him. And I think even though I may say that love and friendship is all that you need, sometimes it being as human as possible, we do feel that hurt. And for me, I feel during those times in my lowest, I think the only way I've got through is to pray for that person. And the amount of relief you get, when you pray for the person that has caused you that hurt or that pain, I think it feels like a burden has been lifted out. And it may be the right thing, it may not be the right thing. You want to do it, you don't want to do it. That is secondary. But when you wholeheartedly pray for that person, I think you experience God change your life or change the way you feel in such a beautiful way. And you don't need to think that I've forgiven and forgotten, because it automatically gets erased out of your mind. And I think that's how it's been for me. And I'm able to live a full life because of this. Because every time I think of something that I've been hurt by, I just say a word of prayer and I let God do the remaining. So for me, during those times, I think I let God change the way I feel by just saying a word of prayer, and God takes me through that low times.
I know it's easier said than done, especially when friendships where we've had betrayals, anger, conflicts, and I'm like you said, right? Even we've gone through it in some point of our lives, but it is so true. It is only Christ that could take us beyond that hurt to still have such a beautiful friendship. Cheryl, you tell us, how do you choose friends, right? Like they say that family can't be chosen. We don't get to choose our family, but we get to choose our friends. So you tell us from your life, how did you go about choosing your friendships?
Well, I would say that you don't get to pick the people that you meet in your life, but you get to choose who stays in your life. And that's very important, especially given the generation that we live in. It just feels like we do things because someone else is doing it, because it's trending,
I want to be friends with the most popular girl, popular guy, because that makes my social standing higher. And I think it's more to do with the fact that we live for others rather than for ourselves. So I I think it's very important to choose who stays with us, who we become friends with, and who we keep as friends for long. And I've met my fair share of people all through my life. I was not very great with relationships when I was in school. I had two friends. That's it. I can remember only two friends. And those two friends have still been friends with me till date. There were others who I would talk to, who I knew were popular enough, but somehow that never gelled. And you know deep inside that that's not the relationship that you really want to maintain at the end of your day. And for me, I was very specific with my friendships after a certain age. And I wanted friendships that were authentic and where they would be my emotional safety net, right? Like I said, childhood was not great. So for me, at least for adult friendships, right, that I've had till date, it though, and you girls are witnesses to it, testimonies to it. So, and it's just the fact that I had to feel comfortable with who I was, and also to make sure that you all or my friends know that they can be who they are. They don't have to be pretending to be someone else altogether. And the very fact that I can use any of you or any of them as my emotional safety net, that I can fall back on them, that I can trust them with things that I say, that I know that it's not going to go out at all. And just the very fact that these are my three principles, my that I can trust them, that I can be authentic, and they are authentic with me, which is very important. That I know that they I think it's more like I know that they know that they can be who they are without fail. And the fact that we are each other's emotional safety net. And that's how I choose my friendships.
Very, very beautiful, because I'm sure everybody has different ways of choosing. Like you said, some people do it for social
Yeah.
standing, and some people do it because they want to be in a certain place with certain people. But I think one of those very, very important points you made is you get to choose. So choose wisely. You know, the friendships, they make such a big part of your life. And when we get to choose it, why can't we choose it in a right way? Chantal, so you tell us, we are talking about friendships here, and how do we be a good friend? And how can we be a good friend that will make our friendship journey with anybody so special? Because everybody is very, very different. But how for you in your life, how to be a good friend so that the journey becomes more special?
Okay, so for me, like I mentioned earlier, blessed with a very, very good set of friends from childhood who are close, and even in college, blessed with a great set of friends. So for me personally, I was a person who, even though we had this beautiful friends, I was very selective with being vulnerable and opening up. So I was that person, and then of course God blessed me, and I had this beautiful best friends who we could share everything. But there was one phase of my life where I realized God was sending people into my life where they were opening up to me and being vulnerable. And this was people who I'm not very close to. It would be acquaintances. We were just getting to know, but they would open up their problems, share with me. And that's when I think I realized this one thing, that sometimes it's it's good. It's very, very, very good to have friends. God's blessed us, and we can share, we can open up and be comfortable. But there are times in our lives that we have to also be that person. We also have to give back. And I remember at that phase of my life, I knew people used to come and share with me. Only one thing I did, and that I think Diana also had mentioned it. It was about listening to them. I didn't have to give them advices. I didn't have to go out of the way to do things for them. All they wanted was my time and was someone to listen to, and I think that I gave them. Until today, we're very good friends. Like the people who opened up to me, I'm still journeying with them. And sometimes all I did was I prayed for them, and if they wanted to meet, I would go and meet. I would just go spend time. And sometimes It's just the presence that matters. And for me, I think that's what when I've been especially seeing in the last few years, God's blessed me with good friends, and I'm so happy I'm getting all the benefits. But there are times in your life that you have to be that stand. You have to be that good friend to people, even if they're not in your inner circle. God can just bring in anybody, and you can also be a good friend to anybody God places in your life.
Very, very well said, because it is so true, right? Like, we're talking about so much about friends, and sometimes a lot of people I hear come back and say that, I'm just so bitter because my friend hurt me. But then, if you are not a good friend yourself, how do we make this equation work for all of us? And I think it's so important, because when you look at life, when anybody looks at life, what we were just discussing over the last 3 points: faith, family, and friends, no matter who you are, from the time you were born till you die. I'm sure these are uh, elements that make life very, very, very complete. I think it must be different journeys for all of us, but it does play such an important role in everybody's life, whether we like it or not. But I think